Good morning, everybody. This is Shannon Ramos. I am your instructor for today's class that hopefully, whoops, look at me. I'm already having technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Hopefully you are seeing my screen here and you are joining me today for our free online class to discover 3 secrets to building a business plan that actually works. I want to respect your time and start right on time. So my clock is telling me, well, let's see, I am in Dallas, Texas, so I'm on Central Time, 11 a.m. on a beautiful sunny day here. I hope it's great wherever you are. And again, I'm Shannon Ramos with The Strategic Agent. We are going to dive right in. I want to get us started with thinking about, so I'm going to ask you some questions. You can jot these down, you can say them out loud, you can, but I just want to get us kind of in the mindset. You've probably had a busy morning, you're running around, and I want to get us in the mindset of why you're here, why you blocked this off your calendar and made sure that you were here today. And so the point is thinking about, in a word, what comes to mind when you think of business planning. And I'll give you a second to kind of pause on that, but I'll also, as I do, share with you, I teach this course live as well to agents all across the country and particularly here in Dallas. And I did get an answer. Thank you very much, Marika. Overwhelming was her word, and I love that. That is one of the words I often get. I get hard. I get time-consuming, complicated. But overwhelming is really, really a good word to encompass all of that. So on to, oops. And I get a pain in the butt, I'll say. Yeah, all of those types of things. Hopes and dreams, all of these are good. Thank you guys for participating. I didn't even ask you to do that, but thank you for doing so. So all of that said, we all know, and you're here because you know a business plan is important to your business. So again, I want you to kind of pause and shout it out if you would like to, but this is a broader, more than a one-word question, and that is, how might your life change? Not just your business, but really even your entire life. How might it change if you had a business plan that actually worked? That actually you got up every day and you knew exactly what your goals were, the exact steps you needed to take that day to make them work, to reach those goals. And you had a way to track to see if you were on course and where you might need to course correct and all of those types of things. So that's my goal, literally, and it's a pretty big goal, but that's my goal in the next hour, is to share with you an idea of how you can get to that. So yeah, Mike, thank you so much. He answered the question, you would not feel lost or overwhelmed if you had that. So yeah, that's what we're going for here. And I'm really confident that I have 3 secrets that most of us have just never been exposed to or thought about this specifically, that can make this happen. So that can really change your life through having a business plan that works. Now, of course, do you have to put the work in? Of course you do. But that's generally not the problem. That's generally not what keeps us from reaching our goals. Is not that we're not willing to work or put in the time. We are, but we just get overwhelmed. We hit roadblocks and obstacles and barriers, and maybe we didn't plan for something. So that's what we're going to work on solving today, because the reality is, I wrote this class and some other resources I'm going to talk to you about, and you signed up to attend this class because we all know that building a business plan is hard. It just is. We don't know where to start. We're overwhelmed. It's a pain in the butt. It's something we don't love doing. But even worse is the sticking to it and working that business plan is even harder. So even if we're, you know, kind of good citizens, and we take the time to sit down and develop a business plan at any level, even if it's just a simple one-page sheet or a vision board or whatever it may be, where the rubber meets the road is sticking to it and working that business plan, instead of what happens to most of us, me included, is a few months in, I haven't even looked at my business plan in a few weeks. It's stashed in a drawer because it's just not working for me. Something's gone wrong. It's just, I've forgotten all about it, and I'm back to just kind of a hamster on a wheel trying to make this whole thing work. So why is that the case? Why does this happen? I teach hundreds, thousands of agents all across the country, and this is a common thing I see everywhere, not to mention having seen it happen in my own business. And so why is this the case? And what I'm going to share with you is because, and notice it says we here, I'm not pointing a finger at you, because we're generally only doing half of the job. We're only doing half of the job of creating and building that business plan to begin with. So it's like setting a goal to say, I'm going to drive to California over the next week, but only having a map that takes me across New Mexico. And remember, I'm starting in Texas, so that's not that far. So I don't have the full navigation and the system and the process to get me to California, to get me where I need to go. And it's not your fault. It's not my fault when it happened to me. It's because we're generally taught about business planning in roughly these 3 steps. People may use different words, but most of us at some point when we either researched or went to a business planning class, etc., we started with dream big. Think about, to get yourself in the mindset of setting goals and taking action, what do you want? And, you know, we're encouraged to think about that big vacation, or our child's college tuition, or our retirement fund, or whatever it may be. But that's generally a first step that we're given, is dream big. Well, then once you've established those dreams, you want to set the goals to reach them. Okay, we dutifully sit down and say something to the effect of, well, I want to, let's say, take my family to Disney World next May, October, whatever, doesn't matter. That's my big dream for the next year. Well, in order to do that, I did $2 million in sales last year. I need to double that to $4 million. I set that as a goal. And then I'm off to the third step, we're generally told, which is take action, right? Okay, well, I need to double my sales volume or my overall income, however you choose to approach it. These are the steps we're generally given. Everything that I'm going to go through in the rest of today's class is based on an online course called The Strategic Year. So I want to set that stage so that you know, and because I'm going to be referencing it, and I don't want you to think, where did that come from? And I'll talk about the course at the very end of today's class. But based on the experience that so many of us have had with the struggle with business planning, my partner and longtime mentor, Joe Mangum, a few years ago wrote the course, A Strategic Year. She is a longtime real estate author, coach, trainer, educator, etc. And so that's where the principles of the rest of the materials I'm going to share with you come from today. So we're back to our 3 steps, the dream big. Most of us are pretty good at this part. I mean, let's just be honest. It's fun to sit down and think about what we would like to see happen in the next year. And a lot of us have done this even graphically, and I like to do this as well, with things like vision boards. These are the graphics you see on your screen here. So we might do them by literally pulling out magazines and clipping out the great beach vacation that we want to take, or the money that we want to make, or whatever it may be, and we make it very visual and we put it in front of us, and we're told, and I'm not disagreeing with this, but we're told by making our dreams visible and in some ways tangible, we'll be more motivated to work towards them. Then we get to step 2, because we've dreamed big, we know what we want, we start setting our goals. And so we sit down and we say, okay, we get a little practical here of, again, going back to my example, I'm going to double my sales volume next year because this past year I wasn't able to take my family on vacation. But that's a big dream of mine for 2020. So I sit down and I set my goals often, very often. These goals are all very numbers based. Yes, the numbers are ultimately going to result in something tangible like going on vacation, but generally my goals are very numbers based. I'm going to double my volume. I'm going to double or triple my number of listings, whatever it may be. And then we get to that third step we're told to take action. Boy, we're excited to pick up the phone and start prospecting and scheduling coffees and lunches with our past clients and maybe start farming a neighborhood or all these types of things. And I equate this a lot of times to, and again, I'm as guilty as the next person, of, January 1st, don't we all wake up with that goal to get healthy, to maybe lose weight, to get in better shape, go to the gym 5 times a week, etc. And for those first few weeks, it's pretty easy. We're excited, we're pumped, we're working towards our goal. So whether it's working out or prospecting or farming a neighborhood or calling on for sale by owners, whatever, in the first time period, it's easy until it isn't, basically, until we hit a wall. But again, if we go back to thinking about how we were taught to build this plan, I'm out of steps. I dreamed big, I set goals, I took action. Why now in early March am I overwhelmed, frustrated, things aren't working out like I thought they would be, I'm tired, I'm stressed. You know what, I'm just going to put this business plan aside and go back to what I've always done. Okay, that's what a lot of us do. And it's really cold and rainy outside, so I'm going to skip the gym today. And then tomorrow I'm busy. And then it's really all the same thing because we're out of steps. We did what we were told to do and it didn't work. Again, it's not your fault because these 3 steps are not enough. They're just not. I'm all about simplicity and having a simple plan. And I love the concept of just a 3-step process to building a business plan that will work. But that in itself doesn't work. So that's going to guide us into what I see as the 3 missing steps or secrets in the context of this class that I'm going to share with you today, and how I can help you fit those into your process to build a business plan that works. So we'll stick with, and I'll keep reiterating the kind of the known 3, if you will. So the first one is that dream big. The first secret that I'm going to slide in here is the importance of and how to do a business analysis. It's really kind of based on a quote that most all of us have heard, but probably never would have equated to our real estate business, from Maya Angelou. You can't really know where you're going until you know where you have been. Okay? You can't know. So back to my example of I want to drive to California over the next week, but if I don't know where I am, I don't look at the if I'm driving the what am I trying to say? My vehicle of transportation, is this going to get me there? Do I need to change the oil? Do I need to get new tires? Whatever it is. I mean, that's a really practical, small example, but that's the concept of a business analysis. You have to look at where you are now before you can just take that leap to say, that's where I want to go. And that's really when we just start with the dream big, we're only looking forward. We're only saying, I want to take my family to Disney World next year. Okay, great. but where are you now? How do you get from here to there if you don't know where here is? So I think that makes sense. It seems even kind of obvious once we talk it through that way. But then again, that's one thing to say it, but how do you do it? So first, let's look really just to make it crystal clear what I'm talking about here is what is a business analysis? It's simply a process of defining areas of strength and areas of needed improvement within a business. Notice I didn't say weaknesses, but you could say it, strengths and weaknesses within a business. What's working and what isn't? What needs improvement? What do I need to do more of? What might I even need to do less of? And then before we dive into the process of how to do this, why? I kind of explained that around the quote, but it really even states it more clearly here. Simply, it enables change. You can't make change if you don't know what needs to be changed. It's that simple. Back to my driving analysis. If I don't look at my vehicle, my car, and say, okay, do I need to change the oil? Do I need new tires? Do I have AAA for if something goes wrong along the way? I can't make the possibly needed changes if I don't do that evaluation. And that's the equivalent of a business analysis here. That said, how do you do that? We have within the strategic year a 7-step process. And I'm going to walk you briefly through it here. And you'll see, so what you'll see on your screen is I'm going to go through the 7-step process of a business analysis. And on the right side of your screen, you'll see the worksheet that we have for this within the strategic year online course. So we start with, and I think most of us would kind of know to start here, right? We need to look at we need to look at your number of closed transactions for the last 12 months. However many of these worksheets it takes for you to list those, I would ask you to list your closed transactions for the last 12 months. So you can see over on the right side of your screen, you are listing the name of the customer, the amount of the sale, your commission. Was it a list, or were you on the list or the sell side? And really importantly, and you'll see why as we go through these steps, the source of that business. So meaning, did you meet this person at an open house? Were they a past client? Were they a referral from a client? Was it a Zillow lead? Was it whatever it is? Did they come from your networking group, your neighborhood farm? Source of business. Something most of us don't think about looking at is step number 2 is your unclosed business. Yeah, we don't like to think about that, but we need to. And so this is literally let's say the listing presentation that you went on and you didn't get the listing, someone else did. Or even the listing that you did take, but it didn't sell. It expired or was withdrawn, or that is unclosed business. The buyer that you showed houses to for 3 weekends in a row, but they ultimately just faded away, did not result in a sale. We need to look at those people. So this one might be time consuming and a little taxing on your memory and your systems, but go back through your CRM, your calendar, your phone, whatever it may be, and do the best you can to bring back that list. And again, you'll see on the right, we're going to jot down name, source of business, where did that potential business come from, estimate, of course, the lost commission, and would you likely have been on the list or buy side. Now we're going to start evaluating the sources of your business. That's why on both steps 1 and 2, we're documenting how did you come across this business. I think for most of us, if I asked you, what's the greatest source of business? And I do this in my live classes a lot. And almost always I get the answer of my sphere or referrals. Okay, but then we go through this exercise. And certainly there are a lot of agents that they're right. That is their greatest source. But so many times I see agents really surprised when they go through steps 1 and 2 of, wow, I got a large percentage of my business through my open houses, or through my neighborhood farm, or through my networking group, or my Zillow leads, or my Facebook ads, or whatever it may be. So this is a really good exercise, not only to define your number one source of business, but your second and third. And so really tie that, and you can even dig deeper and say, okay, maybe I'm getting most of my business from, let's say, my Facebook ads, but I'm getting more volume and more commission on my sphere of influence as a source. So, I mean, you can really dive into these numbers, but you can only do so when you've put pen to paper and done this analysis. So moving on to step number 4, now we're going to take a look at your prospecting activities and results to the best of both your memory and that you can track through your systems. And so your prospecting methods would be things like listing over on the right side, the worksheet, farming my neighborhood, holding open houses, marketing to my past clients, Facebook ads, Instagram, whatever it may be. So these are your prospecting methods, the number of clients that you brought in through that, the number of them that closed. So notice, of course, number of clients is the total, both the closed and unclosed. Total commission that you brought in plus expense. So if it's, let's say, farming a neighborhood and you spent $300 a month printing postcards and walking them around, be sure and plug in that expense, subtract that out from your commission, and look at, okay, is this making sense? So this is an analysis that a lot of us just don't quite go to this level, but you're going to see how it will really change your business planning going forward. We're almost done. We're at step number 5, and that is evaluating your listing position. For most of us, if we're trying to grow our business, we're doing so with listings. Whether you're already a strong listing agent or not quite yet, generally our goal is to always be becoming a better, stronger, and more prolific listing agent. So in order to do that, we've got to take a hard look at it. How many listings did you have in the last 12 months? How many listing appointments did it take you to get to that number of listings? So if you had 10 listings and you go back through your calendar and find you went on 20 listing presentations, well, you're getting 50% of the listings that you're going after. Could you improve that? What could you do to improve that? Of the listings that you took, question number 3 on the form, how many did you sell? Are you effectively pricing and marketing the listing? So you can read through the rest of the list, but it's really important too, because again, for most of us, increasing and improving our listing business is a big part of our business planning, but we can't do that unless we evaluate where we are. Step number 6, you are now going to evaluate your strengths, and yeah, this time I used the W word, weaknesses. But this, for the first time you're doing it, for most of us, for the first time you're doing it based on this business analysis. If you skipped over steps 1 through 5, and I just gave you this worksheet to sit down and evaluate yourself on how good you are at finding sellers, on giving an effective listing presentation, holding your commission rate, all these types of things, you would make your best guess at it. But here, you're now able to look back at the data you gathered through steps 1 through 5 and think, you know, I might have rated myself as very good at giving an effective listing presentation, but now I know that I only got 50% or 30% of the listings I went on. I probably need improvement in that area. So it really allows you to take an extremely honest look at where you are and where you want to be. And then the last step is just simply a review. Basically now tying all of that data into my goals, because remember, we've done we dreamed big. Now we're doing the analysis. Our next step is going to be about setting goals, but now through this process you can set goals with much more knowledge and information in order to base those goals on. So that is the 7-step process in a strategic year of a business analysis. So we're on to, as I said before, we're going to stick with our 3 dream big, set goals, take action, but we're going to insert a new one. So we are at the set goals portion. And this time the new secret that I'm going to slide in is create strategies. It's so easy to say, I'm going to close 30 transactions next year. That's my goal. And I could plaster the number 30 all over my office. I could have a beautiful vision board. I could, just check that off and say to my colleagues, my broker, my spouse, I've got a business plan. I'm going to close 30 transactions. And there's a lot to be said for having that strong conviction in your head and vision and all of that. I'm putting that out into the universe that I'm going to close 30 transactions next year, or whatever your numbers is. But I can tell you now, if you don't create the strategies for how you're going to do that, the actual steps that you're going to take, it's extremely hard to reach any goal, whether it's realistic or a big reach, whatever it is. If you haven't created the strategies, it's really difficult. A couple of quotes you'll see. I love to use quotes to kind of illustrate my points, and I've got a couple on this one. If you can't describe what you are doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. Now, let me say throughout this section, I'm going to kind of use the words strategy and process interchangeably, because what they really mean, what I'm talking about when I say this, is literally the steps that I have to take to reach a goal, to complete a task. Okay, so if you can't describe what you are doing as a process, and this will make more sense as we go along, you don't know what you're doing. And further, this one is truly my favorite. It's only when you make the process or strategy your goal that the big dream can follow. So here's what I mean by that. I keep using the example of I had 5 listings last year. I've set a goal that I want to have 10 in the next year. If my goal is just the 10 listings, but I don't have the process and the strategy to actually bring that to fruition and make that happen, I'm very unlikely to get there. So instead of saying my goal is the 10 listings, I want to back it up based kind of on this quote and say, no, I'm going to develop the strategy / process for how I'm going to get those 10 listings, and that will be my goal, and that will make the dream come true. So let's put that. So again, I said my goal is 10 listings. My strategy is going to be that I am going to farm my neighborhood once a month, door knocking with market statistics, hold 2 open houses a month. But, so those are my 2 strategies, let's say. And I'm going to hold 2 neighborhood events. That's what needs to be my goal, is the monthly farming, door knocking, the open houses, and the community events. That's my goal, not the 10 listings, but it's my goal is making sure that I'm completing those strategies, those steps, that process. That's what will make the dream come true. And remember, the dream, going back to my examples, is taking my family to Disney World. But I don't get to Disney World by just saying to myself every day that I'm going to get 10 listings. I say to myself every day, I've got to prepare my flyer to go door knock this Friday. That's what has to become the goal. So the way to do that is to create something we call a strategic map. And the way this works, it'll seem a little overwhelming, I think, for most people right at first, but bear with me. So, excuse me, you have dreamed big to develop your vision. You've set the goals needed to realize your big dreams. So what could possibly stop you from taking action? Generally, it's lack of strategy. So one more quote. When you're prepared, you're more confident. When you have a strategy, you're more comfortable. Okay, I am not a golfing enthusiast, but I do know who Fred Couples is, very successful. And so I found, I love this quote because it so speaks to, and if, again, I think if we just all think it through on a common sense basis and even in other parts of our lives, when you're prepared, you're more confident. When you go into that listing presentation knowing that you've done the research and you have all of your market stats and data and pricing strategy and all of this in place, you are more confident. You're literally more at ease. Getting to the second part of this quote, you are more comfortable. And all of us do more of what we're comfortable doing. It's hard to make yourself, let's say, again, taking it into another aspect of our lives, it's hard to make yourself go out and run every day when you haven't ran in 3 months. And this is the very first, but the more you run and the better you get at it and the better equipment that you get, and you've got the right shoes and you're learning better stretching techniques and all of these types of things, the more confident you become and the more comfortable when you have a strategy. And that's what we're talking about here. So we love to dream big. We get that vision out in front of us. We set our goals. But here's where we bring in the strategy. So I've got 3 examples to share with you to hopefully make this kind of make sense in your head. So we start with a goal. And so example number 1 of a goal is, I set a goal to say, I'm going to receive 4 referrals per month. 4 referrals, and of course that number could be anything. But the point is, I've set my goal. I can't stop there. And that's where most of us have stopped in the past. Instead, I have to develop the strategies to make that goal happen. So in this case, in this example, well, in order to do that, I need to create a system that communicates consistently with my sphere of influence. I need to implement that system, and I need to increase the size of my sphere of influence. And I could dig deeper and deeper into that. But these are the strategies. This gets me started with, okay, this is where I have to focus. This is what I have to do in order to reach that goal. Second goal, I will receive blank X number of closed buyer transactions from listings. So maybe I've been doing pretty well with listings, but I want to get more buyers out of that. Well, I need to identify leverage neighborhoods and send information on the new listing. So find those maybe move up buyers that would want to move into a particular subdivision, perform open houses in focus areas, and implement a social media strategy for each new listings. Those would be my strategies to support my goal. And then the last of these examples, I'm setting a goal that my business is, let's say, 75% listings. It was 50% last year. I want to get to 75% or whatever your number is. So my strategies might be to prospect for sale by owners, do some Tell 20 activities. You get the idea. So I've been showing you worksheets from a strategic year. This is a list, and it can be a little overwhelming at first, but I'm going to show you how to make it work for you. This is a list, and you will likely, and I would encourage you to come up with even more needed maps. So the way you want to look at this is, as you have set your goals to increase your number of listings, to get more referrals, whatever it is, you're then going to sit down and think, okay, do I have a strategic map to get me there? And this is a list of the potential strategic maps that you may need. So in one of the examples I showed you, it was to get more listings. And so I said, I'm going to market more to for sale by owners. So you can see a little more than halfway down the page, I need a for sale by owner map. Or I want to get more referrals. Well, I need to be working my sphere of influence. Very top item here on the worksheet is the sphere of influence map. And this is roughly what one of those maps might look like. So in this particular case, this is focused on getting more names. Remember, we said one of our strategies in those examples was to increase the size of our sphere of influence. This is a map that would take us through that process. And all the map really means is I know exactly what and how I'm going to do to get to where I want to go and to perform a particular task or complete a particular goal. So in this particular case, if I've said my overall goal is to increase my sphere of influence, then I need to know when I meet a new person, and what you see across the top here is I could meet, and I say that with you, y'all can't see me, but I'm doing like air quotes around that word meet. I might meet that person at an open house, or through the internet somehow, through an internet lead, etc., through social media, maybe in conversation at a holiday party, a client event, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I meet Bob Smith. He's my new contact there that you see right below the list of sources. Is he currently a prospect? Meaning, did he say in the course of our interaction that he's looking to buy or sell in the next, let's say, 6 months? Then that would take me to the yes side of my map, and I would have a process for what I do. I would plug him into my CRM, and based on his time frame, I'm going to call, text him, call, send marketing materials, etc. If he said no, I'm happy in my house, no immediate plans to do anything, he goes over on the left side of my map, and I'm going to add his contact to my database. I'm going to send him something of value. I'm going to connect with him on social media, send him a note, and on and on. And this is just a very small example of one aspect of a strategic map. Likewise, if I said I'm going to hold an open house every weekend of 2020, I would have a map for exactly what it looks like when I hold an open house. That on Wednesday I put the open house into MLS, and on Thursday it goes into all my social media feeds. Excuse me. On Friday I put out signs and balloons. On Saturday I door knock the 20 homes around it. Whatever it is, you're not recreating the wheel every time you get an opportunity or every time you're completing a task in the process of completing your goals. So often within real estate, and sometimes we even pride ourselves on winging it, right? Flying by the seat of our pants. We're busy, we're hustling, we're out there, and sometimes, hey, life happens, you have to. But I want to be clear, winging it is not a strategy. Literally, it's defined here on the slide. It's to do something without proper preparation, to improvise, make it up as you go. And unfortunately, a common characteristic of amateur behavior. It's just really hard to get reliable and professional results without having a strategy, and that's what winging it is all about. And it brings us just back to our quote of being confident and being comfortable requires preparation and strategy. And so I'm going to kind of add to Fred Couples' quote here of it's the being confident and comfortable by having strategies and processes that will lead to realizing your big dreams. This is one of those big steps that most of us have missed in building our business plans. All right, we are to the third secret, and that you can see on your screen here is we've set our goals, hopefully we've created strategies, and then we start taking action. And at first it's really easy and often sometimes even fun. The third secret is to remove barriers, and you could use a lot of different words for barriers, roadblocks, problems, all kinds of things that come up. Here, I swear, I think this is the last quote I use in the course, that the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. This is a very old English proverb, but we all know this to be true. We could hide our heads in the sand. We could pretend that because we have dreamed big and set great goals and even perhaps created our strategies, that everything will go well. Here's why you don't want to take that approach. Here's why. Is research has proven that identifying barriers, again, roadblocks, obstacles, whatever, but identifying barriers and taking steps to remove those barriers is critical to completing the plan. I keep telling y'all all my weaknesses here. I am just as likely as the next person to say, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, right? I don't want to get bogged down in negative thinking. I'm dreaming big. I'm setting goals. I'm creating these beautiful strategies that are always going to work perfectly. If something happens, I will cross that bridge when I come to it. But here's why, and this is really kind of the point behind that research point that I showed you, is again, research in psychology tells us that when we tackle potential barriers in advance, they lose power. They completely lose power. When I prepare for the things that if I really put thought into it, when I prepare for the things that could go wrong, they're still going to come up, but they lose their power because I'm prepared. So let's look at, what am I talking about with potential barriers? This is a list of the most common that we've seen, and those are things like literally time or priority management. So you set that goal to farm your neighborhood and walk the neighborhood once a month, twice a month, whatever it may be, handing out flyers, and oh, by the way, holding an open house in there twice a month and doing all these types of things. I want you to sit down and take a really solid look at your calendar. And when are you going to do that? In between carpool and meetings and current clients and on and on and on. Often you will find you're likely, even if it's just you look ahead and say, well, most months I think I'm okay, but boy, when the kids are out of school in the summer, how am I going to get that done? Not having the skills necessary, not having enough money. I've got to print those materials that I'm going to hand out throughout my neighborhood. What's that going to cost? Do I have that budget right now? Am I confident in door knocking? Do I know what to say? Is that a skill that I need to improve? So all of these are, and it really kind of sums it up at the end, the lack of a strategic map. It's great to set a goal of saying, I'm going to hold an open house every whatever. But if you don't know the steps of how you do that, if you don't have a strategic map, that will be a barrier. You cannot wing it week after week or month after month and expect great results. So again, the way that we approach that in a strategic year is with a worksheet. And so the point here is that you take each of your goals and drill down to listing each of them individually on a barrier worksheet. What is your goal? How important is it to your vision? Kind of remind yourself, oh, this is critically important. If I don't farm this neighborhood, I'm not going to reach my goal of doubling my listings, and that means no Disney World for the family. And yeah, this is an important one. If it's not, you might choose sometimes to drop a goal, but most of the time, our goal is we're just going to identify the importance of it here. And then we're going to run it through this list and say, what are the potential barriers for this? Do I have the budget for it? Am I confident in how to do this? Do I know what to say when I knock on the doors? Do I know how to best effectively hold an open house, etc.? And so you're going to evaluate and identify the potential barrier for each goal. And then we have a worksheet for each of those. Now, you may come up with a barrier that's not listed here. That's okay. You'll see through this process how you might tackle it. So, for instance, with the lack of budget or funds, you've got, here are ideas on you could scale the project down. You could walk the postcards around instead of mailing them. You could, whatever it is. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got tips on that, lack of confidence, etc. If you need particular skills, it's going to help you identify, well, I only won 50% of my listing I need to get a better listing presentation. Okay, that's going to walk you through how to tackle that. So we have gone through, and here we are. I'm watching my time, as I said in the very beginning, just like I like to start on time. I always want to be sure that I finish well within the 1 hour that I promised you. And so we are going to start kind of recapping and going through the resources and ideas now. So we've gone through the 3 secrets of building a business plan that works is complete. The first one we talked about was complete a business analysis. And that's not just looking at, okay, I did this in volume, I took home this much money, and I closed 10 transactions. It's much deeper than that, as you saw in the 7 steps that I walked you through. The second secret is creating strategies to meet each goal. It is not enough to just set the goals that help you realize your dreams. You have to have the strategies underneath them. And a big part of those strategies is considering the barriers that may jump up into your path and keep you from working through your strategy and thus reaching your goal and realizing your big dreams. So hopefully these are 3 secrets that you can, that's my goal, that you walk out of today's class with 3 ideas that you can immediately, this afternoon, tomorrow, before the holidays take us all into the craziness. That's my goal, is that you use these 3 secrets to improve your already in the works business plan, or this jumpstarts you into creating your business plan. That said, again, you can create all these, sorry, kind of a duplicate slide there. But I have referenced, and I do want to share with you now as a resource, the online program called A Strategic Year. The Strategic Year is a complete A to Z blueprint. I pulled out tons of examples and worksheets to share with you in today's just 1 hour session. But this online course is the whole enchilada, if you will. So an A to Z blueprint for creating a business plan that works and builds a long-lasting and profitable business. Again, A Strategic Year. This is an online course that's available in 7 lessons that I'll just kind of, as I'm talking about it, I'm going to kind of click through these slides. It is 7 lessons that starts with evaluating the 5 stages of a real estate career. Lesson 2, developing your vision statement and vision strategies. I went light on that here, just kind of referencing vision boards and things, but there's a lot more to it than that. So that's something that I generally see focused so much on. We do a deep dive in the online course as well. But then we go into lesson 3, that first secret that I see is so often left out, and that is both completing and evaluating your business analysis. Setting goals. Remember, I said that's one of the 3 steps everybody has always kind of told us about. But more importantly, in lesson 4 of A Strategic Year, we dive into setting goals and mapping the strategies to support those goals. Lesson 5 speaks directly to my secret number 3 here in today's class, identifying and removing barriers. Lesson 6 really is, again, kind of goes back into the nitty-gritty of, okay, great, what are the supporting activities? What do you need to be doing and tracking every single day to complete the strategies, reach the goals, and realize the dreams? And this also includes an operational review of your business. So takes you into the numbers of the budget and some really powerful tools there. And then lesson 7 wraps up with some summary and a discussion around something called goal flattening. Goal flattening is a really odd term, but basically what it does, and it's a really important psychological aspect to be aware of when we set goals and start working towards them, of sometimes we can even trip ourselves up by starting to reach the goal and we lose enthusiasm. It sounds crazy, but you need to be prepared to continually evaluate where you are with your goals throughout the year. literally on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, looking at, am I reaching them? Am I exceeding them? Do I need to tweak my plan? Am I falling so short that I'm losing enthusiasm that way? Or am I actually even exceeding them and kind of losing enthusiasm? So really important aspect, again, almost never addressed in business planning classes. So the point here is that I've shared with you just in this one short hour together a lot of tips that I hope you'll use and put into action, but you have a program available to you. It's an online, a strategic year that gives you all of these resources and is written and instructed online by Joe Mangum, I referenced earlier so I won't go back through that. I'm sure, and I'm seeing some chat comments in the screen. Okay, what is it and how much is it? So let me cut to the chase. Generally, this online program is available for $287. But because we are at the end of the year and I believe in this program so much, I'm offering it to you until the end, until the end of January 1st, 2020 for $87. $87. Now, you can probably even hear in my voice, I don't like doing the sales aspect of the presentation. I'm just being honest with you. I love sharing the information with you, but you don't want to sit online with me for the 16 hours that it would take me to walk you through the entire program. I hope I've given you today tips that will help. And then I really hope you'll take advantage of this deal, that you can get lifetime access to this online course. It is led online by Joe Mangum and then supported by me, Shannon Ramos, with the Strategic Agent. As you have questions, if you struggle with something, if you want me to look at your business analysis and help guide you through some strategy maps, anything like that, I'm available. So you really have the best of both worlds with a fantastic instructor online and access to me offline. You can get it right now. You will get immediate access to it. The website address is right there at the top of the screen, get2020strategic.com. If you go to that website address, you will see the pricing of the not $287 but $87. 30-day money-back guarantee and my support once you dive into the program if you have problems or questions. There we go. Let me just leave it at that. So get2020strategic.com. I'll let you know, I did record today's session and I will share that recording with you hopefully by later today. So if you want to go back through any of the tips that I shared with you, the 3 secrets, you will have access to that. But I can't encourage you and invite you strongly enough to take advantage of the entire program. It is extremely impactful to agents' business. I've seen it work over and over. When I teach it live, when I talk to agents who have done it online, it's just an extremely powerful tool. So I hope this was extremely helpful. Okay, I'm looking at my chat questions now, sorry. Do you have printed slides to use? I'm happy to share this presentation with you all. If it sounds like that's something everyone would like, I can send this out as a PDF so you can reference back to the slides. And as well, thank you for asking the question, Marika. If you are a current subscriber to Strategic Agent University, our online subscription-based education program, SAU, you already have access to this course. You do not need to buy anything. Through your monthly membership, you have access. Just log into your Strategic Agent U membership and scroll down until you see the icon, just like you see on my screen here, a strategic year. And you can start taking that course right now today. If you are not a member of SAU, that's where I see. Thank you, Patricia. I got a request. Yes, please send the PDF of the slides. I will do that. If you are not a member of Strategic Agent U, go to get2020strategic.com. When you go to the sales page, you will see the discounted amount, and that will only be active until midnight January 1st. See, I didn't cut you off on New Year's Eve, giving you to January 1st to claim. But the faster you get started on this, the better. Please don't wait until the last minute to grab this. Take it now. Get started. We only have, what, a week until, less than a week until Christmas and the rest of the New Year's and the rest of the holidays. So now is a great time. I had a question from someone else that joined a little bit late. I will be sharing a PDF of all of the slides as well as a link to a recording of today's session. So you will receive that. Somebody's asking me about the membership cost for SAU. The membership cost is $38.60 a month, $38.60 per month. And I'll tell you what, when I send the PDF of this slide, I will send you every one of you, a link to information about our membership site. Today, I wanted to focus on just this program, but I'm always thrilled to talk to people about our membership education site. Strategic Agent U is an online library of all of our online classes, and we're continually adding to it. I think right now there are about 13 online courses on there on everything from strategic pricing to listing presentations, negotiating, online profiles, social media strategy, prospecting, on and on and on. And so instead of purchasing courses individually, you are able to access all of them for one monthly amount instead of the individual purchases. So I hope that's clear, but I'll include it in the email as well. So if there are any other questions, I'm looking at my chat and my Q&As. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much. And I will be sending out, and I'm looking at my clock. I think it's 11:56 where I am. So I'm going to start wrapping up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Watch for an email from me within the next hour. Let me know if you have questions, if I can provide any further information. And thanks again for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your day, weekend, and a beautiful holiday season. Thank you so much.